all going to get older in age, but how you age can be largely controlled by you. I've seen guys in their 50s outrun, outwork and outshine men half their age, and others in their mid-30s like me already drained, soft and falling behind. The difference is not just genetics or luck, it's tracking a few handful of numbers that actually move the needle. So in this video I'm breaking down the 5 evidence-based metrics every ambitious man should watch and exactly how to use them to get and stay lean and healthy without wasting time. And the cool thing is you can do all of these tests from the comfort of your own home. If you're new here, my name is Adam. I'm a health and performance coach with a master's in nutrition, and currently I'm doing a doctorate in human performance. If you want one-on-one personal support from me, then check out the coaching program below the video. Now, before we get into the numbers, you need to understand the difference between lifespan and health span, because most men confuse the two, and that's the reason they age faster than they realize. Lifespan is simple, it's how long you live, and you can keep someone alive well into their 80s or 90s with modern medicine, surgeries and medications, but health span is completely different. Health span is the number of years you actually feel strong, independent, capable and free. It's the years where you can hike, live your grandkids, travel, work, train and live life on your own terms. So while everyone will chronologically age at the same rate, some men will biologically age significantly faster than others. But here's the great thing, it doesn't matter where your starting point is, you can make drastic changes to how you look, feel and live starting today as long as you focus on the big rocks that will actually move the needle and not all the crazy biohacks and supplements. Below the video, there's a free quiz and report that complements the contents on this topic and it will give you actionable steps, so you can get that right now. So the first key metric you need to know is called your VO2 max. In simple terms, VO2 max is the horsepower of your heart and lungs. It measures how well your body uses oxygen during exercise. The higher your VO2 max, the better your cardiovascular system works. Why does this matter? Well, VO2 max is one of the strongest predictors of your health span, how long you live in good health. The fitter your heart and lungs, the longer and better you're likely to live. Now, without any interventions, this number will naturally decline at a rate of about 1% every single year. You can test your levels in a lab, which is what I like to do to get a more accurate reading, but you can also do something called a beep test. All you need is a phone, an app, and some sweat and tears, and you can get a pretty good estimation from there. It isn't an easy test by any means because to work out your max capability, you guessed it, you need to push yourself to the max. If you can get to and maintain a VO2 max of above 45, your fitness will rival the average 20-year-old. That is a huge win for your long-term health. But fitness alone is only one part of the equation. Without strength, which is metric number 2, your health span is like a house of cards. Impressive, but fragile. One fall, injury, or stressful period can knock it all down. One large research study found that grip strength is an even better predictor of long-term health than blood pressure alone. But most people don't lift weights, so it's hard to measure population strength. But here's a simple benchmark. If you can knock out 40 chest-to-floor push-ups, you're in the top percentile for strength. Since strength and muscle mass are linked, you can also look at something called your fat-free mass index. This is just a measure of how much muscle you have for your given height. Gaining more muscle does bring more health benefits, but only to a certain point. For example, my own fat-free mass index is above 22, but the health benefits seem to level off at around 20. In other words, you don't need to get insanely jacked to be healthy, just aim for above average strength and muscle mass, enough to protect yourself from life setbacks and keep your body resilient for years to come. As someone who spent years obsessing about building muscle, here's the 80-20 of getting jacked. Do compound movements 2 to 4 times per week, lift with good form and add weight or reps wherever you can. For guys who want to age well, lifting is not a luxury, it's a mandatory insurance policy. The third metric is body fat, because having high levels isn't just about how you look. Most men think that body fat is just this jelly-like blubber that sits on your body like a weighted vest, filling out your shirt in all the wrong places. But body fat is actually metabolically active, increasing your risk of heart disease, diabetes, certain types of cancers, and it destroys your testosterone. Low testosterone is like taking the spring out of a man's step, removing what actually makes him masculine. And by far the biggest contributing factor to declines in testosterone isn't age, it's body fat. Extra body fat is like a funnel where your testosterone goes in one end and comes out the other end as estrogen. And obese men are up to 13 times more likely to have low testosterone, and almost half of men over 20 years of age in the US are obese, and that number only gets worse with age. For most guys, taking supplements or TRT is just like putting a plaster over a wound that needs stitches. Most guys assume that you're going to have low levels of testosterone as you age, but according to the European Male Aging Study, only about 1 in 200 men, or 0 0.5% of men who stay lean actually have clinically low levels of testosterone. So this is why lower body fat is so important and is metric number 3. A good number to aim for is somewhere between 12 and 18% for most men, and that is achieved through a consistent calorie deficit over time. Just because you're leaner than your buddies doesn't mean that you're in the clear, because the average male body fat in the US is 28%. Getting a DEXA scan in a lab is by far going to be the most accurate measurement, but you can also just compare how you look to photos online or use an electronic body weight scale that estimates it. While these aren't great ways to measure, they're a good start and you can track trends over time. Now, most guys have a sense of their strength and whether their body fat is high or not, but there are still 2 key metrics you'll never know unless you get tested. The first is a blood marker called ApoB, which is a cholesterol transporter. Why does it matter? Because ApoB is the actual number of cholesterol carrying particles in your blood, not just the good or bad cholesterol, the literal number of vehicles delivering fat into your artery walls. Think of your bloodstream like a motorway. LDL cholesterol, often known as bad cholesterol, is how much cargo is on the road, but ApoB tells you how much trucks are carrying the cargo. And it's the trucks, not the cargo, that crash into your artery walls, getting stuck and starting the formation of plaque. Here's the bottom line. You could have normal cholesterol readings, but if you have too many trucks or high ApoB, you're still at risk. That's why knowing your ApoB gives you a much clearer picture of your overall heart health. You can get a home testing kit that measures your levels or ask your doctor, but another way to almost guarantee your levels are high is to measure your stomach at your belly button. If your number is more than half your height, it means that you likely have high levels of this dangerous visceral fat, the type of fat around your organs that drives up ApoB. So for example, if you're 180 centimeters tall, you must get your waist measurement at your belly button below 90. A good number to shoot for with ApoB to get you into that safe zone is below 80 milligrams per deciliter. Now, when most guys think of cholesterol, they assume it's something to worry about once you hit your 60s, but the damage is being done right now. It's like chipping away at a wall with a tiny hammer. It takes years for the effects to be noticed, but once the damage is done, it's very, very hard to reverse. And you may already be noticing some of the side effects, because plaque doesn't just build up in the arteries around your heart, but all over your body, which causes poor blood flow, and for many men it means the onset of erectile dysfunction. So instead of reaching for that little blue pill, assuming it's just your age, get your ApoB levels checked. Which leads me to the 5th metric, blood pressure, and I want you to think of it like this. Imagine turning your garden hose on to full blast and keeping it there 24/7. Eventually the hose weakens, the joints leak, and the whole system wears down. That is what high blood pressure does to your arteries. Too much force, too often, it slowly destroys the elasticity that keeps you young. You won't feel it happening. There are no symptoms until it's been there for years. But high blood pressure is silently aging your arteries faster than almost anything else, accelerating the exact process that leads to heart attacks, strokes, and even making that erectile dysfunction worse. And here's the scary thing. Almost 1 in 2 men over 30 already have elevated blood pressure and they don't know it. This makes it one of the most important metrics you can track because it's easy to measure at home with a cuff. It's highly responsive to lifestyle changes, and lowering it dramatically slows down biological aging. While getting lean will reduce both ApoB and blood pressure, modifying your diet by adding more plants, less sodium and saturated fats, and increasing your levels of plant sterols will have a synergistic but drastic effect. There are tons of different metrics you can track, supplements you can take and gadgets that you can use, but if you get these 5 key metrics in check, you'll be 99% of the way there to optimizing your health and performance as you age. And I know it can seem overwhelming knowing where to start, but if you use the free audit below the video, that will generate a report and give you some action steps. For most guys though, the biggest lever will be dropping body fat, and if you want to know how to do that effectively, then watch this next video that I made here.